You know, that's very basic. We think of that in English and we don't even know what to do about it. And they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with the world-ruling system? Nobody's going to make war. And who's talking for them? America. We're the spokesman. Isn't it our president that has to be there and put his hand upon Anwar Sadat and Menachem Begin? Doesn't he have to be there when Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat, the great barbarian, get together? Can you imagine that we have made peace with an international thug and pirate who's behind all of the bombings and the airplanes and that's fact. We know that. Yeah. He gets his orders from Mr. Assad in Syria. He's the big boss man. He's the mafia head, is who he is. And what he says goes. Now, who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. We find this back there. You remember that over there? Hold your place there. I'm going to try to get onto the image. We will get to the image tonight. I'm still going, ain't I? Yeah. Okay. Let's go back. He was speaking great things. Let's run back to the book of Daniel. Back to the book of Daniel. And we see this great world system speaking. Back to the book of Daniel. We'll look at this very quickly one more time. Daniel, the 8th chapter. The 8th chapter. And it talks about in the latter time of the kingdoms of these. And it's talking back from the 7th chapter, the beasts that come up out of the sea. And the reason they said it come up out of the sea is because all the world empires that ruled and overruled Israel, and they were called beasts that scattered Israel abroad. They were scorpions, and evil teachers are scorpions. They all rose up out of the great sea. All of the empires had their boundary lines on the great sea. That's why it's spoken of in Daniel 7 as coming up out of the sea. Rome had her boundary line upon the great sea. The great sea was called the Mediterranean. Persia had her boundary lines on the sea. Babylon had her boundary lines over the great sea. Rome, Persia, Greece, all of them, they were all on the great sea. That's why you see that. And he's still talking in the same context in verse 23. In the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors, in verse 23 of chapter 8, when the transgressors are come to the full, when God's had his fill, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences. I like that word dark sentences. It's the word kiada. And the word kiada means hard questions, puzzles. What if I said, Luke 21 and 25, there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, and on the earth distress of nations with perplexity. Aporia, in a quandary. Aporia, no answer, hard questions. This man who heads this system, A-P-O-R-I-A, and didn't God say when a man is often if you do some defining and go back to Genesis, the 3rd chapter, and you find out who the beast is there, and you find out it's a female there, or find out that the beast is a world-ruling system, a diabolos, distributing fortunes to self, you can find democracy and capitalism, and you'll find America as an evil system. We don't recognize American prophecy because we don't want to recognize that it's evil. Somebody tell me America's a righteous place. No. No, sir. No. And I certainly got I can stand here and preach, but I believe the day will come I won't be able to. Yep. Now, let's continue reading there. Then he says, he'll understand dark sentences. And you remember in 2nd Chronicles, the 36th chapter, when Nebuchadnezzar carried Israel away into captivity as the beast, and he scattered Israel abroad. Remember, scattering abroad is always the scorpions, it's always the beast. And he scattered Israel abroad. Those were hirelings that scattered abroad. Jesus said the hirelings care not for the sheep. And he scattered Israel abroad. He said there will be no remedy. See, this leader is going to understand dark sentences, and he'll stand up. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He'll get his authority from the Dracon the Fascinator, from the enchanter. And he shall destroy wonderfully. It's going to look wonderful. And in the 16th chapter of Luke there, John, he says, and when they kill us, they'll think they do God's service. It'll be wonderful. Isn't that something? And shall prosper and practice and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. God's people, the church. And yeah, and through his policy, boy, I like that. S-E-K-E-L, S-E-K-E-L. Through his intelligence. Intelligence. Through his intelligence, I spell bad when I'm talking. Through his intelligence, he shall cause craft, M-I-R-M-A-H, fraud to prosper. Boy, we've never had a president that's been as big a liar. I believe all of them lie, but we've never had a